that Democrats cannot only be the party of resistance. We cannot, like, we resisted so hard between 2017 and 2024. We impeached the guy, like, we prosecuted him, convicted him of 34 felony counts, and guess what? He still got elected. So I don't know how much harder we can resist now.
Are you admitting that, that the case against Trump in New York was part of the organized Democratic Party resistance?
It was a Democratic.
What's happening, everybody? On Thursday, Scott Jennings was back on the arena with Casey Hunt. To Scott Jennings' right on the panel, Liz Smith, the new foil, was introduced, and she's a doozy. Despite her all-around patronizing and condescending attitude, Scott Jennings, ever the professional, responded to her lies with facts that spoke for themselves. By the way, a little debate tip for her: it's much easier to debate when you tell the truth. Just saying. Anyway, let's watch Scott Jennings listen to the same BS from a different panel and respond with the same old facts. Let's go.
Scott Jennings, I actually want to start with you on this because it feels like one of those situations where the politics of this, if a Democrat were in office trying to put their policies through the courts and the courts out of Texas said, nope, you can't do it, you would be totally fine with a nationwide injunction that says, you know what, we're going to challenge this in the courts. What has changed?
I actually disagree. I don't think these individual district court judges, no matter who the president of the United States is, ought to be able to overrule a president. I respect the Supreme Court, but individual district court judges that are easily venue shopped, which is what's happening to Donald Trump right now, can go out and effectively grind an administration to a halt, run out the clock, and be a boat anchor around a popularly elected president. So I don't agree with that. And I just think Trump's got a great argument. I think any president would have a good argument on this. I think the Supreme Court, I don't know what they're going to do on the birthright citizenship issue, of which there's also a good argument for, by the way. But on this nationwide injunction thing, I'm with the president on this. And, future implications aside, I think this is the real constitutional crisis, are judges usurping the power of the president.
Liz Smith, how do you see it? And especially, there are so many layers of politics here, right? The fact that President Trump is trying to put birthright citizenship into question. Another example of, he moves the Overton window quite regularly on a wide variety of issues. But of course, he's been, the American public has been closer to Donald Trump on immigration of late than they have to the Democratic Party.
Well, it will surprise no one that I view this a little bit differently from Scott over here. But this is what I don't get. It is pretty crystal clear in the Constitution, if you're born here, you get citizenship. But why is Donald Trump picking this fight? Only 25% of voters support getting rid of birthright citizenship. Less than 50% of Republicans do. And, I am not in the business of giving Donald Trump advice. You might be, or giving Republicans. You're a smart guy. And, this is what I don't get, Scott, is you could call up the president and give him some really good advice and say, hey, that comprehensive immigration bill that you helped tank last year.
Are you still on that?
Yeah.
Even after you lost the election over it?
Scott, let me talk.
Honestly.
Don't interrupt me. But you could take that bill. You now control the White House, the House, and the Senate, and pass it. Presidents from both parties for decades have been trying to get this through. He could be a historic president by doing that. Instead, he's taking on a fight like birthright citizenship, which is a loser for them, will not go through. And I think that this is why, people are turning against Trump on an issue that was one of his strongest against Democrats in November.
I'll just briefly answer. We didn't need the bill. We just needed a new president, as Donald Trump has argued. He changed executive branch policy and has effectively closed the southern border, and now he's taking strong executive action to get rid of the violent people who were here. We don't need legislation. We just need the executive branch to be able to do what's clearly enumerated them to do in the Constitution. That's our argument.
I don't know that I would argue that the immigration system is all fixed under Donald Trump, and I don't think that will be a winning argument in 2025, 26,
I do
27,
take Scott's point that there are certainly fewer crossings.
Yes.
Quite a dramatic amount.
So this Liz Smith was a former communications director for Pete Buttigieg. Oh, yeah. Well, wow. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's good for you. I've seen Liz Smith before, but I don't remember much about her. One of the first things she said to Scott was this condescending, "Come on, Scott, you're a smart guy." So we weren't off to a great start, but then while she was answering another question, she addressed Scott in her answer and then very rudely told him, "Don't interrupt me." Scott was like, "What is going on? Why are you angry at me right now?" Oh my gosh, I feel terrible. Has no one told Scott? Scott, I'm sorry. She's a boss babe, and she's going to show all those men that she can be tough too. Yeah, girlfriend. But the icing on the cake with this chick was the fact that about 99% of what she said just wasn't true. Let me summarize what she talked about. She dusted off the old bipartisan border bill. And then she hit us with, Donald Trump is losing on the very issue he was elected to take care of, talking about immigration. But my favorite was at the end when she jammed in, I don't think immigration's been taken care of under Donald Trump. All of these things, I think, are provably true. But that's why this is fun. These people never cease to amaze me. Back to it.
The party isn't with them. And so talk about the potential for an outsider, somebody who's different. There's a real desire to have something that doesn't feel the same.
And why are they angry? Because the party isn't being ornery enough in Washington and liberal enough? I mean, that's just it, right? The lesson that the base has learned from the last election is we're just not far left enough. And until you shed your allegiance to illegal aliens, boys and girls sports, and higher taxes, the American people do not want this. And it doesn't matter who you nominate, because if the base is going to push the nominee of the Democratic Party in those three directions, and I have no reason to believe that they won't do that in the 2028 primary, you're going to have a devil of a time convincing people that you can actually act normal during a
split up
campaign.
the Democratic base, though, because they lost a lot of those voters, working class people of color in cities who were to the traditional Democratic base. I think what you're talking about is the echo chamber that happened among a specific college-educated liberal crowd, and that has to have gotten more voice in that party and pushed them in a direction that disconnects them from what I would call their base.
And why Democrats are mad, why the base is mad at some of the leaders in Washington is not because they're not left enough. It's because, Chuck Schumer came out with no strategy, no forewarning, and just said, we're going to fold on the CR. I mean, I think he could have done a better job of explaining what the strategy was and what we're going to do, but there wasn't anything like that. I think Democrats are learning, and I'm going to agree with you, that Democrats cannot only be the party of resistance. We cannot, we resisted so hard between 2017 and 2024. We impeached the guy, we prosecuted him, convicted him of 34 felony counts, and guess what? He still got elected. So I don't know how much harder we can resist right now.
Are you admitting that the case against Trump in New York was part of the organized Democratic Party resistance?
It was a Democratic prosecutor, and at the time, I said I thought it was unwise. I went on Fox News and said
There were Democrats who said this at the time.
There were a lot.
Just to be clear, everybody who now touts the 34 felonies, take it from Liz. This was not a real case. This was a plot to upend the presidential campaign, which backfired.
I just think it was.
I always like to give credit where credit's due. The two guys on the panel were good, especially the guy on the left. When he was talking about the reasons that Democrats were losing voters and becoming disconnected from voters, I didn't disagree with a single thing he said. I know the bar is low at CNN, but I give him credit. He was extremely objective with that answer. At one point, Liz Smith asked, why is Donald Trump picking the issue birthright citizenship? I'm glad she asked. While I think it will be an uphill battle, the reason that Donald Trump keeps hammering the birthright citizenship thing is because if we get rid of it, it's just one less incentive for illegals to attempt to come into our country. And then, of course, we've got to talk about the best part. You heard it, right? She essentially acknowledged that convicting Donald Trump on 34 felony counts was part of a broad strategy that obviously included impeaching him twice. And I'm going to be safe on YouTube and just say that there were other ways they tried to stop him as well. So now I have a quandary on my hands. I find this lady extremely objectionable. But if she meant to say what she said about the court cases about Trump, she didn't back off of it, so good on her, and I applaud her honesty. That would literally be the first Democrat I've ever seen not defend, oh, these were legitimate charges against Donald Trump. However, if she just didn't realize what she was saying about the Democrats' use of lawfare against the president, then we just get to laugh at her, I guess. Well, I suppose in different ways, both scenarios are a win then, so I'll take it. But what did you guys think about Scott Jennings and the panel's conversations? Let me know in the comments. Also, let me know where this Liz Smith ranks, as far as the normal crew over at Newsnight. I don't think she's as bad as them quite yet. I mean, I have a lot more experience with them, but give me an idea of where she falls on the tier list. Anyway, that's it for this video. I've been trying to get more active on X lately, so on the screen on my left, I think, is my handle or whatever you call it. I'd appreciate if you'd follow me over there because, as you know, I have a lot of interesting things to say. Otherwise, as always, I really appreciate you taking a couple minutes out of your day to watch my video. Never forget, Jesus loves you. See you guys.